Franklin County Commissioners meeting, Tuesday, May 5th, 2020.
We are on. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 5th, 9 o'clock on our regular morning board meeting. We have all three commissioners on deck, and administrator and clerk, and we do have an audience this morning. So if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I need to go down and get my instructions.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and our next item is to approve minutes for February 25 and April 21st. If there's no addition, changes, or corrections, I'll sign them as presented. Look good to me. Okay. We'll hold on just a minute for public comment until Keith gets the phone instructions. I think we can go on to payroll. We have some items for pay the bills this morning.
Mr. Chairman, we have two fiscal notes this morning for consideration. The first is fund expenditures. Move for approval as presented in the amount of $252,446.97. Note this has been reviewed by two members of the auditor's office as well as the county administrator.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the second of two, this is salary clearing payroll and emergency management payroll. Move for approval as presented in a total aggregate amount of $835,350.20. And note that this has been reviewed by two members of the auditor's office.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, I think we should hold on just a few minutes until Keith folder hasn't followed this yet.
Welcome. To join a conference now, please enter a... If you are the meeting host, please enter your PIN.
Phone is all set, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. It is open for public comment. If anybody, there is one.
You have one. I actually have two, it looks like. Good morning. Is this Roger?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Roger. This is Keith Johnson. You are on the speakerphone in the County Commissioners boardroom.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Roger Lang. I'm here to provide public comment on the consent agenda, Item 7, Resolution 2020-12, Joint Resolution Feasibility Study, Kennewick Hospital District Number 1. And I'm supportive of a recovery center, just not the one being proposed by the Kennewick Public Twin Rivers Hospital District. First, I'll again refer you to the analyses prepared by Jerry Martin and myself on January 22nd, provided to you this morning. They remain pertinent and document the reasoning that Kennewick Public Rivers Hospital District faces for getting involved in this issue. Being a landlord and providing a win for Life Point may be a win for the district, but not the two counties. Second, this interlocal agreement does not include the amount the district will contribute. On January 26, 2020, their board approved $46,000 for consulting fees, if half, $23,000, would be provided by the community. Benton County has approved $12,500. Benton Franklin Community Health Alliance approved $5,000. That leaves $5,500 left that needs to be allocated. The district will only be putting up $13,000, or 28% of the $46,000 appropriated should Franklin County put up its $12,500. Benton and Franklin counties are paying the majority of the cost for these studies. Last time I commented on this, I said, watch your wallet with these folks. Third, the district's consultants have issues. Both of these have close ties with the district. Ascension is in West Virginia, so the majority of its costs will entail travel. Arculus has absolutely no healthcare experience. The contracts must be put out to bid, as the counties will pay far more than the district. Using their pets for consulting gigs is not appropriate.
Roger?
Yes.
This is Bob.
Morning, Bob.
Are you just reading this verbatim of what you sent us?
Yes, sir.
I think we can all read. I don't think you have to go through the whole dissertation. I've read probably 90% of it this morning, and I appreciate your comments. But like I say, I don't think you need to read the whole works.
Okay. If that's the desire of the board, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Appreciate that, Roger. Thank you. Questions, commissioners?
So normally, Mr. Chair, this is just a comment period, so the call for questions is a little unusual, but I
Yes,
think
it is.
maybe it's appropriate. Mr. Lenk, maybe if you could just summarize any remaining points that you had intended to make before you stopped reading the document.
Again, I would advise both counties that Mr. Barton and I have put together alternatives to this proposal. And again, I don't think that anybody should be getting involved with an organization that is the worst oversight record in eastern Washington. There are others that are run by both counties, the health services department, and I think that those are the best folks to review the situation.
So, Mr. Lenk, I'll just thank you for your comments and suggest that I think at least speaking for myself, I think the county can probably justify this initial support and maybe heed Mr. Lenk's cautions with even more perspective if and when we get to the next step.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, sir.
We have one more caller on the line, Donna Raymond. Good morning, Ms. Raymond.
Yes.
This is Keith Johnson.
Hi.
You are with the Board of County Commissioners. Good morning.
Thank you. I would like to make a public comment today, and I saw on today's agenda that there's no mention of any discussion of measures to open our county for business. And according to J.T. Wilcox, the county commissioners have more power than they think. So please do something in unison to get Franklin County's economy open for business. And I do want to say I appreciate Clint Didier as a private citizen taking measures on his own and I commend him for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on Q?
No.
Okay. Public comment?
George Dockstetter, 4951 Self Landing Road. Thank you for having the meeting today. I appreciate that. I'm here for two reasons. One, I appreciated the effort you made to open the county back up. I personally think it needs to be remade. From what I understand, and I'm not positive about this, I haven't researched it, that the governor cannot extend the emergency deal without being signed off by the leadership of both parties in the state legislature. And from what I heard on the radio the other day, Senator Schlosser didn't sign off. And so I would appreciate it and hope that you guys reconsider that situation. The other comment I've got is I don't know what this shutdown's done to county income, and I think that needs to be looked at real seriously, because I know my business is in the toilet. And if your income's in the toilet, then we need to be looking at cutting some expenses now instead of waiting and doing it at the end of the year when you just got to do a mass cut. And I know that we've already robbed the road system. I'd hate to have us rob that again. I think that it should be looked at seriously. We're getting to the point now you've probably got a feel for what's happening on county income and where we're at, and it's going to be a whole lot worse come the 1st of June than it was the 1st of May. So I think that's something that county commissioners and staff need to look at and start making some hard decisions, because the way these prices are out there right now, your county taxes are going to take a hit next year. You're not going to get any new construction the way Yahoo over there on the coast is doing the construction deal. And our excise tax is going to be down. I know that for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Hello, my name is Jack Bunger. I run a custom home building business here locally, and I'm just wondering why they reopened construction, but only existing projects. I work alone. I have no crew. I'm waiting for 3 months for a permit to come out of the county. Nothing against the building officials. They're, I think, the best around. But I don't understand why I can't start my new home. I have a contract signed with the homeowners. They've already sold their home, and I can't start. So it's just, I'm sitting and waiting. So if we could look at reopening construction completely, like I don't see what the difference would be if they still go out and inspect existing permits to issuing new permits. All it's doing is a backlog that's going to affect everybody for the coming future. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments?
Do have one more caller.
Okay.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
You are on the speakerphone with the county commissioners.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning, County Commissioners. This is Michelle Andrews, and as you work through the powers that you have and support your local businesses, I have organized a rolling unity rally starting at 9 a.m. at Corton 68, and we will be going through Kennewick, West Richland, and Is this?
Can you hear us?
There's been a delay. I'm listening online, so I'll turn that off.
Yeah, turn that one off.
Okay. I'm asking everyone to come together. I have confirmed with my county sheriffs in both counties that it is legal for even our county commissioners and our city council members and any citizen who wants to legally protest and do a rolling rally of unity. And again, it starts at Road 68 in Court. It goes up to Burton, and the route will be given. But it's going to go all the way through Kennewick and West Richland and back through Richland and then back to Pasco. And we're asking people to stay in their cars, be COVID compliant, honk their horns, and say, reopen Washington. I believe that we can do it in weeks, but I also want to defer to you, my county, and my city leaders, and my state legislative leaders. And I do have state legislative leaders committed to coming and just standing with our citizens to keep them medically at risk at home and sheltered in place and practice mitigation and open up our state and give the plans from our local entities up to the governor. And we just protest as waiting till July and then even hinting at November 1st. Inappropriate, and it's peaceful, legal, and we ask you to come.
You said 9 a.m. What day is that?
This Saturday, May 9th.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
I wanted to go. Yes, you're welcome. Bless you all. We're praying for you. Look back at Mr. Franklin back there. He does stand for everyone, and I want to remind you, National Day of Prayer is May 7th. He told that we would not have the country if he hadn't sent everybody home when they were arguing over the Declaration of Independence. So I ask you to honor there are countries that are fasting day and night, even weeks, for our country. And so I ask for peace to be made and for unity, and we'll work out those differences. I believe in all of you, and I believe in the people of this country and the state and the city. And there's been differences, but I've always loved being able to come here and live in Pasco. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, I'd like to respond to a few of the remarks that we've received this morning. I think these are pertinent and important because there's obviously a great deal of misinformation out and about. Let's start with RCW 4306-220, subparagraph 2, the one that requires the four corners of state government to authorize extensions to the governor's actions. Senator Schessler did sign that document. I've seen it and has renewed it. I saw a notice as recently as yesterday. So that did happen. Subparagraph 2 speaks more to state agencies and policies and practices. It's subparagraph 1 that speaks to the governor's, I think, inappropriate, almost unlimited power to shut down the state. And I would point out that it was our state legislature that passed that bill with a very high passing rate and gave our governor that much authority. I think that's at the root of the entire problem, just my view. But from what I can tell, the governor has that authority, and the four corners of government have extended the portions over which they have some say. With respect to the Board of County Commissioners, as I said previously a week or two ago, if someone can show me where this Board of County Commissioners has the authority to open Franklin County in defiance of the governor's order, please show it to me. I would love to have that. I wish we had that authority. We don't, to my knowledge. Somebody's got it. Please show me. And I'll be calling Representative Wilcox, JT, and asking him specifically what he said with respect to the counties having more power than we think. I've spoken to him a number of times and not at all shy about calling him and asking exactly what he means. The real risk in this Board of Commissioners taking an action, as we did a week or two ago, to quote-unquote open the county, is that we mislead the people that we've taken an oath to serve. We mislead them by suggesting that we have that authority and encouraging them indirectly to go out and open their business. Because at the end of the day, it's not this Board of Commissioners that pays a price or a penalty. It's the citizens who get additional audits from the state or get their business licenses suspended or get their business licenses revoked. And I'm not at all shy about saying publicly that I don't put it past our governor to take those kinds of retributions against our citizens if we go out and, quote, open the county. So if we had that authority, I'd love to open the county. But I want people to understand the reason I'm not doing it is because if we push for it, it's not this board that will pay the price, it's the citizens who will pay the price. That's not a trade I'm willing to make. And, sir, with respect to your comments about the building, I think it's absolutely asinine the way they've treated the building industry and assumed that people who are on construction sites don't know what 6 feet of separation is. Every one of them is carrying a tape measure if that's what it takes. We know what 6 feet is. We're adults. We can do this. Why the governor hasn't allowed that, I won't even begin to try to explain because it makes no sense to me either. And I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that kind of garbage. Mr. Chairman, that's probably enough for now. Because I'll start saying things about the governor I probably shouldn't.
Appreciate your comments. Yeah, there is so much false information out there that is gospel to some people that are hurting and out of work. And
well, double check your facts. If somebody tells you something, go find out what the truth really is. There isn't a member of this board, I don't think, that wouldn't love to open this county a long time ago. But for myself, the reason I made a request to rescind the previous motion was because it was apparent to me that it was the citizens that would be getting wrapped by the state government. They would pay the price, not us. And again, that's a trade we can't justify.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I'd have to argue they are feeling the wrath of this already. I mean, we got businesses that are going out of business right now. They're not going to reopen. And all we're doing is prolonging the inevitable, which they are. And I think somebody needs to stand up and challenge this governor on the constitutional grounds that he has overreached his boundaries. If we were to do this again, we've already been given the signal from Attorney General Bill Barr. He'll come in and sit beside us. And I think that's the quickest way to get him here in our state is for this county to be sued by this governor. Otherwise, we're going with the citizens, which I was part of, and trying to get him here because we have a governor that's out of control. He is in violation of Amendment 1, and he's also in violation of 14. By calling somebody non-essential is a violation of the 14th Amendment. And we need him in here to rein in this out-of-control, tyrannical governor that we have.
Mr. Chairman, I would just close with, I don't claim to be a constitutional scholar, have read it multiple times, including the incorporation doctrine that's part of, and really the driver of the 14th Amendment that extends the federal prohibitions down to the state levels. Whether or not the governor is in violation of the Constitution is an excellent question. Whether or not it's the duty of this Board of Commissioners to take that on is a whole other matter. And I would love to see Attorney General Barr come in and take on Governor Inslee on that matter. I don't know that the citizens of Franklin County, at least the ones I've talked to, want us to engage in that, but I certainly would support the notion of counties combined taking it before the state Supreme Court. And for those people who want to, on their own time and their own dime, pursue this, God bless them. Go for it.
Further comments?
Do have one more caller now.
Okay.
Good morning.
Further comments?
Yes. You have the
Yes.
floor.
Pardon me? Hello?
Yes.
I looked into that bill being signed and had several discussions, and I just want the commissioners to know they were considering protection because of the Cascadia fault to have people in succession in case something happened to Jay Inslee. Plus, they were getting a win on gun rights, and so they signed it, all but two, one Republican, one Democrat, is my understanding, all but two, and those two said this was too much power. But there was such a big win that nobody saw this coming and this kind of tyranny. So now, you know, our legislators were trying to act on our best interest to make sure somebody was in charge if something happened to Inslee, is my understanding. And we were getting a win on gun rights, that they did sign it. And, you know, I just think we have to forgive them because I don't think they really saw everything coming, and you just can't always. You know that in public life. But we as the people can stand up and say, we don't approve, we need to be heard. And again, a public protest, unity rally is legal for anybody to attend. And so that's why I'm just getting the word out. I've been working on this for a while. But that's why we're kind of in a conundrum from the legislative stance. And JT will probably tell you that. But that's what I understand, so I wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's an interesting remark. It borders on justifying giving up one constitutional right to defend another.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Further comments?
So does he define existing construction? So Inslee approved existing construction. Is there a definition for existing construction? If the permit was applied for several months ago, would that be the start of construction? I signed contracts with the homeowner. That's when my start date starts. What?
I'm sure when you signed that contract, you went out and turned over a little dirt just to test the soil, right?
We already had perk holes dug. We had a septic tank permit issued.
I don't know if the governor's defined it, but to me, that's construction started.
Can you guys define it? Can you set a date at some point that defines existing construction that we can start having the building department issue permits?
Has a permit been authorized yet?
It's waiting at the county. They don't know when they can issue them.
Well, I don't know that you can go much further without a permit.
So, Mr. Chairman, perhaps we can query the governor's office for a definition on start of construction, and if they can't give us one, then I would feel comfortable with us adopting our own.
Yeah. Well, and I think we need to speak with the building department also and see if they can't expedite some that are in dirt, have been moved already.
On the governor's, if I may,
Sure.
the governor's COVID-19 website, there's fairly lengthy information on construction projects and what's permitted and what is not at this time. I don't have that right in front of me, but it is available.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would have to question the governor's definition of essential, because all homes are essential to a family, and they should be able to be built.
Yeah.
Oh. According to the website, this function is not qualified because a permit has not been issued.
Yeah.
Work is going through all that crap as board members. You might check it and verify it, but that's what we've been told, and the HPA's have been told.
Yeah.
The permit has not been issued.
You need to get up to the microphone, George. You're not being recorded at all.
The Board of Realtors and the HBA have been told that if a permit has not been issued, it's not existing construction.
Yeah.
I know what he's going through because he's already got the perk test done, health department approval, and all that crap. Mm-hmm. All he needs is a $500 signature and a check down there from you guys, and you could step in and tell him, hey, give him his permit because he's already got a signed contract.
Yeah.
That started the project 3 months ago as far as we're concerned. The governor ain't gonna come over here and penny ante every damn little deal that goes on. You guys step up and give them a permit.
And I do have permits, just not the regular county building permit. I have health department permit, not electrical permit, that permit.
So Keith, my guess is that if you look at that guidance, you'll see that it's with permits issued before a certain date. If you find that there is not such a clause, that the door is open for us to issue a permit, please let the board know.
And Keith, if he's been granted permits, as he said, before that date, but just not our building permit, I say we authorize our department to grant him a building permit. Because he's got the other permits already granted to him.
So,
We'll certainly do what we can.
yeah. Okay.
Confines of the state law.
Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and it is numbers 1 through 7.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 7. And I have a couple of questions on some of these, but don't need to pull any for separate consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I second with comment on item 1. Questions?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
So just a couple of notes for Keith. I don't think it changes our action specifically, but this is on items 2 and 3, which have to do with Office of Public Defense and a contract for legal services. If you read back through there, there's some unclear information as to whether we're going from a temporary position to a permanent position, or from a part-time to a full-time position, or canceling one contract and starting another. Because I've seen these a number of times over the years and I understand the intent, I don't need to hold it up to go further. The agreement itself appears to be fine, but the background section of the summary sheet really is could use a bit more attention. The reference in that same portion talks about rising caseloads and our transition to higher caps. Higher caps normally referring to higher numbers of cases that any one attorney can handle. Well, if you're going to higher caps, then you don't need more attorneys, you need the same or less, and yet we're converting one from apparently part-time to full-time. So, again, I have confidence in Mr. Ziegler who sent this forward, but would just ask that we maybe put a little more attention to those.
Certainly.
And with respect to number 7, which was the hospital district, I did, as I've reported previously, go and tour the facilities and meet with the chair of that board, as well as Mr. Kerr, who I believe his title is the executive director. As Mr. Lenk expressed, there are some real questions given the history of that district, but it's clear that there's also a tremendous need in our communities for those services, and I think it's well worth the modest investment to find out what the potential might be. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as far as item 1, it's the reappointment of Alicia Greenaway to the Board of Equalization for a 3-year term. My questions is, was this open for anybody else to apply for?
It was the first time the spot came open, but we typically, with the Board of Equalization, just because kind of the experience level that gets required, allow them to resubmit their application if they want to continue on the board. We kind of give them, I wouldn't call it right of first refusal, but unless their fellow board members or a member of this board has a reason not to reappoint them, we typically reappoint the individual to serve.
And how many people are on the Board of Equalization?
I believe there are 3.
3?
Yes.
Okay. And the Board of Equalization is what sets the property values for taxation, correct?
No. Just listens to the...
Yeah, the assessor does that through the appraisal process. If the taxpayer has an objection or feels like that the appraiser's office has not appraised it correctly, they can bring the item before the Board of Equalization to consider. And then if the Board of Equalization concurs with the assessor's office, then the taxpayer's obligated. If they, take the taxpayer's side, so to speak, but if they rule against the taxpayer, then that taxpayer has other appellate opportunities, either to take it to court, bring it forward to still have that matter reviewed judicially.
And how many times a year do they meet?
It depends on the number of requests from taxpayers, but generally they meet 3 or 4 times, starting in about August through November.
Okay.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, a taxpayer has to apply for this hearing at a certain
correct.
point. It's not an ongoing year-round
Right.
deal.
If memory serves, there's opportunity for more than 3 people to serve. I think 3 is the minimum, and if there are other people who would like to serve, I would encourage them to apply. Historically, there's been a real difficulty in getting enough people to have a quorum to even provide this mandated service.
Okay.
Good thought.
I just wanted it to be out there so people knew that this was.
Yeah. There's a public process.
And, of course, we would be the ones that if we want people to participate, if they want to participate, we could enlarge it to a 5 or a whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Assuming that my recollection that it can be bigger than 3 is correct, and I'm pretty certain it is.
Any thoughts on that, Peter?
I would, Peter McIntyre for Franklin County Assessor, I would defer to the Department of Revenue to ask those questions because the Board of Equalization is separate and independent from my office.
Okay.
That's your responsibility. Typically, we meet, hearings usually start in September and they're usually done by the early part of November. And typically we have anywhere between about 40 to 60 cases a year that are heard. And that might be multiple property. Each individual parcel is its own individual case. So a property owner might have 3 or 4 lots, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it is a separate, independent review of the assessment. So,
sorry to put you on the spot. I just thought maybe you might have.
Yeah. Is there been, have you, over the history of the last 5 years, have you seen a rise in challenges or about the same?
I would say I would say our appeal rate has been pretty consistent in that area. But on the other hand, that once we transferred to or transitioned to an annual reevaluation, where we used to send out about 6,000 to 7,000 notices, now we send out 28,000 notices a year. So, I mean, if you look at the overall rate per notice sent, has went down. But a lot of that is because we annually adjust, which gives us the opportunity to work with taxpayers and discover those issues over time. Instead of once every 4 years, we're in discussions every year with them, as well as the adjustments hopefully are more, I don't know how to say this, understandable by the property tax owner. It was hard before having a 4-year increase. So we used to only inspect and value once every 4 years. So you had 4 years of market trend that you would receive a change of value in your notice. Now it's every year. So we're trying to keep up with new construction and the market as it marches along. The other thing is, too, the former assessor and I, Steve Marks, our concern always was the ability to react to the market, which is a good tool to have in circumstances like now where we're unsure what the market's going to be able to do. We need to be able to react one way or another. The one thing I would like to communicate to the board is that our assessment date is the first of the year. So the values that we set will be based upon the market conditions that were in place in 1/1 of 2020, not April 9th. Okay? So anything that we see that we perceive a trend in the market from the data will, due to the virus, will be reflected on next year's assessments. Now, that being said, we will be taking a conservative approach in our valuation. So if there is a decline, that will give us, I don't want to raise value up to put it back down. I would like to have it be consistent and stable, predictable. The other thing is, too, if the market opens up and takes right back off from where we were, we don't want to be behind so far that we're making large adjustments going forward to try and catch up with the market. So we're trying to consider all those things and take those into consideration. I think George would probably agree. If you know what the real estate market's going to do right now, I'd sure like to know, because that's a hard question to answer. It really is. But we'll find out. Only time will tell. So we'll do it fairly and equitably as best we can. And we're always open to working with the public and discussing any issues they have.
Mr. Chairman, I'd note that RCW 84.48.014 reads, in part, the Board of Equalization of each county shall consist of not less than 3 nor more than 7 members, including alternates. And it goes on and gives further detail.
Thank you, Pete.
Yes. Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us down to you, Keith, please.
Yes, Commissioners, I think you all received by email a copy of a letter that is proposed to be sent to the governor on behalf of a number of counties. This letter is encouraging, of course, the governor to lift restrictions related to COVID-19, expressing concerns about the arrangement he has indicated he's made with the governors of California, Oregon, Colorado, and Nevada, and general complaints about what we've heard a little bit about today, construction, and deciding what is essential versus what is not essential. And each board of commissioners from all of the counties in the state of Washington is asked to consider signing on to this joint letter. There are a number of counties that are supporting it, and then there are a number of counties that have decided that they're not ready to sign on at this juncture. I don't have a specific count, but we received a number of emails yesterday from counties both in support of and not supporting this letter. So they would like a response by today of whether we intend to sign on to it and whether this board would like to do so.
Well, I'm in favor of signing on to the letter. I think it's pretty direct, and it points out the indiscrepancies that are going on. I think it was a well-written letter. I think it comes right to the point of things. I'm in favor of signing on to it.
Keith, if memory serves, some of the counties that have declined are Yakima, Asotin, Spokane, Adams. Do you recall others offhand?
Walla Walla, right?
Walla Walla.
There's a list on the back of this. If you
That'd be great.
Kittitas, Klickitat, Wahkiakum, Lewis, Skamania, Grant, Douglas, Grays, Pacific, Mason, Walla Walla, Benton, Okanagan, and Yakima counties are in support of that letter.
I'm not sure that's accurate. When the letter was drafted, these were the counties that had been included, but my understanding, at least from Yakima and Walla Walla County, is they have withdrawn support of this letter.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly right. I know Walla Walla for sure has.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just reading from.
Yeah, I think that in the draft they were included. I see where you're reading from, but my understanding from emails yesterday was they were not.
Yes.
I wouldn't be opposed to signing on, but I'd have to see a final version. There's been so many versions of that letter floating around that I'd need to see the final text.
And I don't think this one that we had on our desk is the final text. Obviously, because there's counties that are showing support that definitely are not. So.
Yeah. Well, this is a case where the Board of Commissioners can express their displeasure with the governor without doing it at the direct or indirect expense of citizens getting hammered by state agencies, which is always my concern. So if we can express our displeasure in a way that doesn't hit back on our citizens, then I'm open to it, but just need to see the final version.
This does not commit the county to any particular course of action. It just states our position with respect to the governor's orders. I don't think it would be any surprise to the governor's office to find out that Franklin County was opposed to some of those things that have transpired. So I'm not sure you're drawing any bigger a target on you by signing this letter. But
I don't know that I need to sign it. Like I say, I think they definitely have got the governor's ear.
I will say that with respect to a comment made earlier by one of our callers, Donna Raymond, that the boards of county commissioners have more power than they realize. I won't speak for other counties, but I think this board understands that we do and where the limits of that authority are. And there is tremendous power in the Washington State Association of Counties. When you get 39 counties that comes in and expresses displeasure, that absolutely is going to get the governor's attention. And if you've got a situation where 20% or 30% of the counties are doing that and the other two-thirds are not, it creates a perception of division among the counties, and I don't think it influences the governor, frankly. Do you recall, Mr. Chairman, whether or not Wasack, I know that a letter went about a week ago. It wasn't as stern or strident as we might like, but it expressed a lot of these concerns. Perhaps that's an acceptable middle ground. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I honestly think that we're in a unique situation in Franklin County here. Franklin County itself has got the 9th and the 16th, and right across the river we've got the 3 legislators from the 8th. I think we're in a pretty unique situation having 9 legislators that have our ear. That I think that's the way to go, is let them get into Olympia and with their peers.
Well, in fairness to those legislators, who I would like to see them pushing a little more on the governor, but in fairness to them, one, they did sign the legislation giving the governor the power that he's now, in my view, abusing, or at least carrying to the very limit. But as the caller earlier said, I think it was well intended and a bit of maybe a misstep where they were caught between trying to defend gun rights and something they didn't think would get invoked at this level, which is maybe a long-winded way of saying I agree with you that we need to put pressure on those legislators and try and get them to influence things with the governor's office, and that influence ought to include, if they haven't already, bringing forward legislation in the next session to change that statute and to put limits on the governor's authority. Karen, this letter you just gave us a copy. What is the source in our confidence that this is the latest version?
This is from Laura
Oshadas, Kittitas County.
And this was the second draft that she gave to me yesterday.
Okay.
I did forward that, but I don't know what the differences are in the draft.
We still have Walla Walla listed as a signature, and
I think it came yesterday morning before Walla Walla. The original came out yesterday morning, which is the first version that you had a print of. And then another county came in there and did a few changes. I believe it was Douglas County. And the second letter that they gave is what you have in your hands right now. That came out later that morning, and then yesterday afternoon, the other counties were sending in letters saying they would or would not sign it. So the reason the draft still has the county names on there is prior, they had a discussion with a group on the phone, and they were in at that time, but after reading this letter, the second draft letter that came out, certain counties came back and said they would not participate. And some counties said they would.
So, Mr. Chairman, I am in no way a fan of our governor, but I respect the fact that he's the duly elected governor of the state. I respect the fact that the legislature that we elected gave him the authority to do what he's doing. And so when I see language like, we now demand this, and language like, county commissioners have united to express, well, it's actually well under 1/3 of the counties. And to say it's a disgrace to the state and the governor's office that you have chosen to ignore the people, I think that's a level of language that frankly is unproductive. I'm far less interested in expressing to the governor how displeased I am with his decisions than I am my concern for the effect on the citizens of Franklin County. And if I could see some way that I thought that this letter was going to make things better for the people of this county, I wouldn't hesitate to sign it. But I think the language that's in here pretty much guarantees that we're not going to entice the governor to do anything for the people of Franklin County that he isn't absolutely bound to do. So for those reasons, as written, I don't know that I can get behind it. As much as I'd like to send a letter like this and vent, I got to set aside my personal distaste for what's going on and do what I think is going to serve the people of the county best.
Yeah. There was an edit from Dan Sutton from Douglas County. He said, I've made a couple of edits. First, we are not thankful or appreciative of his efforts, but whether we respect his choices. I don't know if that got put in the final, what we are seeing final draft or not. I haven't.
Yeah, this line about all political power is inherent to people and the governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. I would remind we're not a democracy. We're a representative republic, and we elected senators and state reps in Olympia to represent us in that representative republic. And they're the ones that gave him this power.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to note that on Governor Jay Inslee's construction working group recommendations, Phase 1 construction restart COVID-19 job site requirements, at the bottom of the first page it says all contractors are also required to comply with the following COVID-19 worksite specs, safely practices as outlined in Governor Jay Inslee's Stay Home, Stay Safe Proclamation 2025, in accordance with the Washington State Department of Labor and Industries and the Washington State Department of Health. And this is who is showing up at the job sites enforcing his recommendations is L&I and the Department of Health. And they're not elected.
Well, being as the Benton Franklin Board of Health is comprised of 6 elected county commissioners, 3 from Benton and 3 from Franklin, and because we have authority over those functions, I would say that there is elected representation for citizen interests, and we should, as a Board of Health, get very clear input from our health physician, Dr. Person, and our executive director, Jason Zakaria, as to what their intentions are for carrying out these instructions.
And I think that as the Board of Commissioners, we should ask for a freeze in hiring. We can't afford hiring. We don't want them hiring more people to be the policeman for this, for the governor. We should really look at their funds, and if they want to hire people, we should be all voting against it.
Let's get back to the letter. Yay or nay?
I'm hearing two of you not
Yay.
supporting it and one supporting it at this point. Is that a fair characterization? I don't want to speak.
So I support the concept, but not this letter. I think it's counterproductive, and while it might feed our egos, it doesn't serve the people of the county. They will pay the price, not us.
Okay.
I believe that's all for today. Looks like I do have one more caller. Michelle Andrews calling back again. So, yeah, that's all the official business that I have this morning. Morning. Is this Michelle again?
Yes, just one last piece of information.
Go ahead.
With regard to the state legislators, there has been some call to ask Governor Inslee to open up the legislative session. There are some things to consider. The legislature may give him even more power, given the comprising of the particular parties that are in our state and our Senate and our House and our governor. So as we pitch it back to our state legislators, I would just ask, like revising that letter, perhaps getting better language that's better qualified, but giving a plan that we, the local entities, can handle this. And I liked that you were going to contact the county health district. That's another one of the things that our state representatives advised that I did, and I didn't get anywhere. I couldn't get a straight answer. Got passed around. It was awful. So just wanted to put that in there just in case it was not on front of mind, for consideration. And again, just praying and thank you so much for all that you all do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything further, Keith?
No.
Any further public comments? Okay.
I've been in the real estate business a long time, 44 years. Run construction projects, developments, sold farms, been a member of the community. Never once have I seen the health department come around and inspect a construction site. It's just a garbage deal the governor's using with bureaucrats to control our lives. L&I, the only time I've ever seen them show up is if there was an accident. They don't go around and inspect housing construction, office building construction, unless there's a complaint. And I think you definitely need to get a hold of the health department and put a crimp to this garbage. And one other thing, I know Bunger's family. I don't know him personally, but you could always go down there and have Derek pre-sign that construction permit and say, hey, I'm new and it got lost in the paperwork. And that's all I've got to say. And thank you for having a public meeting.
Okay. Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Commissioners have anything? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you. Good luck, Jim.